Your business should work for your life. You shouldn't work for your business. So you have to be front of the person and they have to trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. First thing you got to be is personal. If you become personal, I mean, they're going to know you and more importantly, they're going to trust you. I don't know, like if you would have told me I'd be in the position I'm in right now and all I had to do was write a couple books, I would have wrote these 10 years ago.
I'm always telling people you have to figure out where your customers are and go there because everyone wants to quote that movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. It's like, that's so ridiculous. No, they won't come. They have other things on their mind. No one's thinking about you. Every fitness business owner listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube wants to experience the kind of growth that I'm going to tell you about on this week's episode of Optimal Aging, the show for fitness, health, and well-being professionals who want to grow their business by reaching more people over 50. Now, just a few years ago, my guest, Seth Scrimo, was struggling at his Ohio fitness business to get by on the amount of revenue he was able to bring in, about $4,000 a month. Now, just a few years later, he has grown that exponentially, sometimes bringing in up to $30,000 a month. How did he do it? Well, excellent question. That's what I wanted to know. That's why I called him up and asked him to be on the show. Basically, he did it by creating 2 content machines to promote the heck out of his business. First, he started writing books and promoting them like crazy around his town of Wooster, Ohio. And then he created a podcast called The Best of Wooster, in which he interviews community leaders, business leaders about what makes their businesses or ventures successful and how he can use those connections to grow his business. It's really exciting stuff, this 1-2 punch that he came up with of books that he went crazy giving away all over his town, and this podcast that promotes other people in his community, which he's very proud of. So I wanted to have Seth come on today and tell us how he did it to go from about $4,000 a month to $30,000 a month in just a couple of years by creating his own content factory. Pretty incredible. So now, before we get to the conversation with Seth, I want to tell you that Seth and I are among about 12 or 15 people who have collaborated on a new book called Thrive, The New Rules of Lasting Health and Fitness, which is available today on Amazon.com. It's got a chapter for everybody, fitness consumers, fitness business owners. Just about every angle is covered in this thing. You're going to learn a lot from this conversation with Seth. Really happy that he took the time to join me today, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Seth, hi. Thanks for joining me today. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, how you doing, Jay? Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm good. The reason I wanted to talk to you is because you have had a lot of success with writing books and with your very own local podcast there in where you live in Ohio. And both of them, the 1-2 punch of the books and the podcasts, have really helped you skyrocket your business. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of how you experience this exponential growth and how people can learn from it, tell us a little bit about leading up to where you got right before the book and the podcast.
Yeah, so paint a picture here. It's 2023. I am in Wooster, Ohio. I transitioned out of the military. I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years and started doing my own fitness thing after I was an area manager for a gym chain called Stay Fit 24. And then COVID happened and I had to like start doing some online training. I worked for a couple companies, 1099, and I saw some success with that, but I was like, I still want to do my own thing. So I went and got my LLC, Scrimo Fitness. There you go.
There
Right.
you go.
And I was like, all right, what can I set myself apart from, Joe Schmo trainer down the road? And so I always thought about writing a book. I just didn't know where to start. and I joined a group with Pat Rigsby, and I got an email about writing a chapter in a book. And I was like, well, I don't know what it looks like to write a book, but I think I could probably figure out how to write a chapter. So I got on this call with this guy named Rick, never met before in my life. Next thing I know, the stuff I was already had in my pocket, I've been using and coaching people with. It's in this chapter called The Fountain of Youth. I'm like, oh shit, hopefully this makes sense. I have no idea if this is going to work or not.
Yeah.
And then over a course of a next couple of months around Zoom calls, getting everything all set up with the other, I think 20 people that are in that book, it became number one on Amazon, which is like crazy. So
Mhm.
I'm like, well, man, if that's what working with a bunch of people looks like, what would it look like if I wrote my own book?
Yeah.
And so I got on a call with Rick again, and next thing I know, we came up with this book here. So,
Slimming
Slimming
Secrets of
Secrets.
Super Parents. Yeah.
Yep. Unlocking weight loss success for busy moms and dads. And because it's the season of life that I'm in currently, the people mostly that I coach are, business owners and parents themselves. And they have a separate book that also goes with that. But, most of the people I work with, they are about in the 50 plus market. And I think the reason why it gravitates towards, me and the things that I'm doing is because, when you write a book, you got to make sure it's good. There's a lot of stuff out there right now, especially things getting put out there that like you don't know what to believe. But if
Right.
you write something, you can't take it back. You can't like edit it. You know what I mean? So like once it's in someone's hands, like it's got to be almost the gospel truth,
Right.
right? And
Right.
that's how,
Yeah.
that's how I view these books, and the reason why I keep writing it is like, well, it stands a testament of time. And to me, somebody that's like that reads, they're more likely, educating themselves. And if they're educating themselves, and that means they're probably interested in some kind of service that can help them get to like the next level,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So,
Okay. And we should say that the Rick that you're talking about is Rick Streb,
yep.
who's affiliated with Pat Rigsby's group. And Rick helps people like us write books. He helped me write mine, Selling Longevity, which came out a couple of months ago. And he helped us, of course, he organized this Thrive that you and I are a part of. So it's a great way to distinguish yourself in your community, as you have found. So before we get to the impact of the book and the podcast, tell me about the community where you live, like how big it is. Is it rural? Is it suburban? What is it
Yeah.
near a big city? That kind of thing. And also your setup. I know you don't have your own gym. So tell us the 411 on how your business is set up.
Yes. So where I live is Wooster, Ohio. It's a rural area. Like the biggest thing that happens in our area is like the county fair. Like the
Okay.
whole city shuts down for it type of place, right? And with my business model, I don't own a gym. Where I'm shooting this, Zoom call at, it's a place where I rent. I paid it to use their equipment, but the majority of my stuff's been online since 19. I took John Goodman's online trainer academy. I
Mhm.
did his course. It gave me a pretty good foundation, and so I use a couple different softwares for it to coach people. So for me, transitioning to doing my own thing, I needed to have something that like I could start with and just edit from there,
Mhm.
right? So with what I'm doing, it's important for me to meet people face to face, but my end goal is to get them transitioned to like a remote based program. That way I can coach them from afar and still do, fun things. Like my wife's a teacher, so she's off every summer. So if we want to go on a trip, I can't say, "Oh, sorry, I have, five
Yeah.
classes and
Yeah.
six individual people to meet this week. You guys just go ahead." No, I'm
Right.
taking my computer with me. I'm doing
Right.
some stuff and then, working my life. I feel like your business should work for your life, not you shouldn't work for, your business, right?
Right, right, right. That's the trick. That is the
Yeah.
trick, Seth. So tell me about how I I want to just ask you the open-ended question because there's a
Mm.
lot of pieces to it. I don't want to make any assumptions, but so you started writing these books, and then about a year ago, you started with the Best of Wooster podcast. And at some point you started having really exciting growth in your business. So tell me about that process. Was it from when the book came out and suddenly your sales were explosive, or was it after the book came out, not much happened. Then you started doing the podcast and things started happening. What was the order of things that happened?
Yes. So for me, the initial collaboration book, that was key because it kind of put out like an attention to like me. Hey, this is this person that writes and
Mm-hmm.
he writes books and he's a bestseller. And then I did my own book a couple of months later, which geared up towards, it published in August, it was a bestseller by October. And so that kind of ramped me up towards the new year. I did another collaboration book with Rick in the following beginning of the year, and then a couple other books leading up to that. So for me, I think, attention to me is like currency. Like you got to be top of mind of people and you have to build those connections with people. And so just from publishing the things I'm doing, meeting with people, one-on-one for a while, that was kind of the bread and butter of the foundation. And then, about a year ago, I started this podcast called The Best of Wooster, where I interviewed, business owners, CEOs, presidents of nonprofits. And like that put me in the right place at the right time with like the clientele that could really afford my services without even questioning it. And so what I found, in terms of growth, it's been like a steadily incline, like going up to where like now I have a huge wait list to work with people just because there's only 24 hours in a day. I'm probably have to start like hiring out for some help. But if I could say like what was like the catalyst that started it, I would say it had to be the initial collaboration book. And then from there, just staying in front of people helped. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that built a lot of trust with me. And then doing the Best of Worcester podcast, that just kept like me in front of the right people. Like I'm having these professional organizations in the area share like the episodes and sending out to their email list. And then, next thing I know, I'm getting bombarded with emails from people I've never even heard of asking me if I
Okay.
could tell their story, or
Yeah.
they saw that, hey, I saw your book. When can we get on a call? And like I don't even know who these people are. So I have to like vet them at this point
Yeah.
because not everyone's a good fit for me. And so that's one of the reasons, another reasons why I have these books is, I might not be the best thing for them, but if they're interested enough, they can read the book. And if the book makes sense, then we'll get on a call eventually.
Yeah, sure. That makes great sense. So, how did you get the book in front of people? Because, you know, I published this book a couple of months ago, and it's been nicely received. I'm not unhappy with it, but I can't say it's changed my life yet. But I also probably haven't done as much as you did to promote it. So tell me about what you did before the podcast, what you did with your books to help grow your business. You're in one town, you're in a
Correct.
specific place, but these books, people all over the world can buy these books. And so how does that help? How does that broad exposure help you in your little town?
Yeah.
Connect those
So
dots
yeah.
for me.
Yeah. So first things first. All right. So
Yeah.
this is my book bag. I don't own a facility. So everywhere I go, I work out of coffee shops. I go to the library. I go run my errands. In my book bag, you'll see books. I always have books on me, and I always have gift cards on me because you never know when you have a conversation with somebody. When I'm on trips, when I'm on vacation, I have those books with me. And so what I've noticed is I'll give a book out to somebody somewhere, let's say I'm on vacation. They'll Google me, they'll look up on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Especially with all these books here, right?
Right. Right.
These are all bestsellers. And so I have all this social proof
Yeah.
that I am who I say I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I have all these Google reviews. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's huge is right now people they don't want to buy crap. There's so much misinformation out there, especially now
Mm-hmm.
with all this AI,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, all this stuff, right?
Right.
So you have to be front of the person and they have to trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you,
Right.
right?
And yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, believe me, I know. I'm a writer, not a trainer. And
No,
now with people think, oh, I'll just have Chat GPT write everything. And it's like, yeah, it's really not that simple, but
no.
good luck with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the secret. You just walk around handing out copies of your books all over your little town, and
That's
that's how you grew your business.
the first thing I did was, I don't litter by any any, stance, but I
Sure.
went to I went to where my like ideal clients would shop, and I went to the managers and I said, "Hey, this is my book. Is there anyone that you know that would use this book?" A lot of times, yeah, me, because that person said person, right? It's like, wow, no
Yeah.
one's ever gave me a book before, right? Not alone, and one, they never met an author, and two, they never met a best-selling author. So it's like, well, again, a 1-2 punch. From there, then, I take a photo with that person, tag them
Mhm.
in it, or I go have coffee with someone, I tag that person with the book. People ask questions. I had the library I had a book signing there. I did a class there. I had people just interested in knowing who I was as an author first, and they
Mhm.
realized I had
Mhm.
all this experience. From there, I just built up trust. I built a system that worked for me, and I've had months where I've made more money in a month than I made it a year at a different job, which is
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean?
Wait a
So
second. Repeat that.
like I've had months where I've worked, just 1 month, 30 days. And I made more in that month than I did at like a whole job 10 years ago.
And you
It was,
attribute that primarily to the book.
I think so. I mean, that's really the only thing that's changed,
Okay.
since like, I've learned more things, learned more, ways to sell and serve people. Yes. But like, if I'm talking apples to apples, the only thing that's different between me and the things I was doing 6 years ago is this giant stack of books here. And
And right
maybe,
now you're making a lot more money.
hey, yeah,
You have
these, these
you
books. Yeah.
you and
I'm
your
not,
wife
no,
you and
that
your
being
wife.
said, yeah, that being said, I'm not making money selling the books.
No, no,
I
no, of
want
course not.
I want to make sure people
Right.
understand that. I'm
Right.
making money on the service from the books.
Absolutely. No, I did the same
Yeah.
thing. I'm under no illusions that I wrote a book and it's on Amazon and it's going to make me $1 million. That was not the point of it. But just today at the gym, I was at the gym before our interview today, and I bumped into one of the trainers who I hadn't seen in a few weeks. And she said, "Hey, how's your book doing?" And I said, "Well, I didn't know what to say because, it's not going to tear up the bestseller list. That's not what the point of it was, right? It's not to sell 1 million copies and make me rich and famous. It is to promote my business, Prime Fit Content, so more gym owners will call me up and want to work with me. Similarly, that's how you did it."
Yeah. So for instance, let's say I gave this book out to someone at Panera. It's, a typical grandma that's there
Yeah.
doodling. We're just talking. Next thing I know, I get this random Facebook message from somebody that said, "Hey, you gave your book to my grandma.
Uh,
I love the book, but like, how much does it cost to work with you?"
yeah.
And like
Right.
literally just that person to person connection. I've always, thought that being a personal trainer, first thing you gotta be is personal.
Yeah. Oh,
So
absolutely.
if
Absolutely.
you become personal, I mean,
Yeah.
people are gonna like you, they're gonna know you, and more importantly, they're gonna trust you because people pay good money to the people they trust, right?
Yes, they do.
So
And they stick with you
I
if
stay with you.
if
And
you're a
that
nice person.
and I
Nobody
think
wants to
that's
come work out with you 2 or 3
you're
times a week if you're
an asshole. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Okay. So take us then from that stage to what got you started in the Best of Wooster podcast,
hmm.
and what was the intention of it?
Well, I started like thinking like, well, how can I get my hands in front of like my book in front of the people that could afford my services,
In your
like in
community?
my community. Yeah, like so I started thinking like, where are the business owners? Where are like the people that are higher up in certain organizations? What could I do to like, excuse me, get in front of them? Because I used
Mm-hmm.
to like try to set up meetings to give my book to them and try to do like a company health fair thing, hoping to get a client. But then I was like, all right, right now in my community, there's a couple podcasts, but none of them are like talking about the good things in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And I just made this. I was a finalist for the Best of Worcester 2 years ago for voting. It's like, what would it look like if I interviewed the people who were on that list and started there?
Nice.
That way, I
Mm-hmm.
could learn from them, and then hopefully, if I'm in front of them, give them my book, and if they're a good fit for my services, they could sign up, or if not, they can refer people to me, whether it's through the podcast or
Mm-hmm.
to use my services. And it kind of just took off from there. At first, it was like no one really knew what a podcast was. I think there's still people that don't know
Yeah.
what a podcast is, and that's perfectly fine because it's a great time for me to explain what it is and what it's about. And then from there, I had one person, two, and had a whole calendar for, I do my interviews every Friday. I try not to overcomplicate it. It's just audio. I take a
Yeah.
photo with it.
Yeah.
I give them a book afterwards. They have
Yeah.
them do an email introduction to the next guest or guests on the podcast.
Hey, are you a fitness professional trying to grow your business with people over 50? If you are, then you need to know how to communicate with them, how to market to them, and how to get them to trust you with their fitness, well-being, and money. We're talking about millions of people who are a little older than the typical market that the fitness industry usually pursues. They have more money, more time, and better motivation to make the best long-term fitness consumers you'll find anywhere. If you're not focusing on them, you should be. Prime Fit Content is the only content marketing company designed specifically to help you engage people in this group and to help you distinguish yourself from competitors in your community. It's effective, affordable, and super easy to use. Check it out at primefitcontent.com. That's prime, like prime of your life, fitcontent.com. Back to the show. Okay. So you ask the people at the end of the conversation, you ask them to refer you to someone else who's a business leader or a nonprofit leader or some mover and shaker in your
Correct.
community. Yeah. That you can interview. And then you also ask the guest if they might be, or by now you have a pretty good sense if they might be interested in
Good.
becoming a customer of yours,
Okay.
correct?
Yep. Correct. Yep.
And that kind of personal connection has paid off. You've got clients directly from that.
Yes. And what I find what's happens more times than not is they refer me to a loved one that they want taken care of. So whether it's a mom, dad, sister, brother, something like that, because sometimes they might not want to do the service themselves, but they would rather see that person that they care about get taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened. I mean, if I'm being honest, that's happened more times than not. Not necessarily the person right there is like, oh yeah, I
Right.
love you. Yeah. Because I think they feel like, me doing this front end value to them, giving them a way to project and talk about their business nonprofit. A lot of times they get very emotional on the podcast
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, you talking about someone that starts from ground up about their
Mm-hmm.
business, man, you better get the better
Yeah.
get the tissues ready because it's
Yeah.
supposed to be emotional. Being a business owner is can be emotional, days in, days out, right?
Yeah.
And I think just from there, it's just like, yeah, if they can do this for me, I can't imagine what they would do for my husband or
Mm-hmm.
for, again, most of my clients are in that 50 plus area for their grandparents. Like I have a
Right.
couple clients that, their biggest thing is that they want to walk better. So like
Right.
they're not in here doing snatches and cleans and bench pressing 300 pounds. They're just trying to move a little bit better so they can pick up their grandkids. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know. Believe me, that's the main focus of my podcast and of my business and all the people who support me as well. That's really where it's at for this demographic. Who is the audience? If you're in a small town and a lot of folks aren't familiar with podcasting in general, so who listens to it and do you do anything to promote it?
yes. So the people that listen to it most of the time are the friends and family or other business associates of that person. So like if I'm interviewing a CEO, other CEOs of the area in the same niche, they're listening to that
Mm-hmm.
because they see that they just got interviewed
Yeah.
for a podcast.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, all I do is I just have a Facebook page for it. And then I have everything on Spotify. It's an easy link for them to send out. It's a great way for me to reach back to see if, I'm in my second season now. So next season I'm going to reach back to get, additional stories because a lot of these organizations they have other things going on, whether it's fundraisers or
Yeah.
just like new places opening up. So like I had in Worcester, there's the pregnancy center, but the Best of Orville, they just opened up a pregnancy center. So I just interviewed for the Best
Oh,
of Orville. I interviewed them. But I imagine here soon I'm going to interview the Worcester one, right?
Mhm.
So like they're going to overlap a lot.
So
So
you mentioned Orville. That's the next town over.
correct,
And you recently started a sister podcast called The Best of Orville. So you
correct.
now have, you've got two of these cycles running at the same time.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. So and my thought process was like, well, if the Worcester one did so well, and it's kind of Worcester's a bigger city, what would Orville look like? How could I provide even more value to that and get in front of the right people faster?
What really intrigues me about all of this, well, before we get to that, tell me how much this blew up your business. As much as you're comfortable doing, I'm not trying to ask you for your dollars and cents necessarily, but give me some sense of where you were. Like, were you in despair before all this happened? Like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to grow this business? And now your calendar is full and you might
Well,
need to hire people. Like,
um,
give me some sense of 10% growth, 120% growth. Where
so
are you at?
so so in terms of like before the book,
Yeah.
I had to like almost restart my business from scratch because I put a lot of my stuff in this 1099 business I was working at. So I was bringing in, bare bones about 4K for the month. And then after the first book, and I started selling kind of some prepayments for like 12 months and 6 months programs, I got my cycles up to about 10, 12,000. And then after the next couple of books, just kept climbing up there, 12 to 15. And, I've had a couples, $30,000 ones recently. Those are more than not, just because again, like the system I have people that keep signing up because they like and trust me, right? I think a big thing is affordability for your programs. Initially, if your program's too high and it keeps being that same price, they can only buy so many times,
Yeah.
right? And you can
Right,
only
right, right.
serve them for so many times. My goal is that when I get someone in my ecosystem is to keep them here, have them be here for a very long time. So having like a downsell where I think it makes more sense. It creates like a huge reoccurring revenue for you. You keep your
Right.
client base. That's the one thing that worked very well for me at the last 1099 program I worked, the company I worked for is I had a huge, huge customer base of like the lower ticket program. And that's what kept me afloat for a lot of my months where I wasn't selling like a higher end program. And so for me, pretty soon we're gonna pay off the house. We gonna do some fun stuff with our kids. My son's in first grade, my daughter's in preschool. So like I have to be mindful of like sitting on my hands when I know we can do all these fun things, but
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
I
I
also
hear you.
need I also need to be a responsible adult at the same time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Okay.
I mean to me it's just like I don't know, like if you would have told me I'd be in the position I'm in right now and all I had to do was write a couple books, I would have wrote these 10 years ago. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't just write the book.
No,
You
exactly.
you
Yeah.
also have done this podcast, and I
Podcast. Yeah.
listened to a couple of episodes, and you know it was very interesting to me. I live in a metropolis of 6 million people, and I've spent my life working in big time media and at multi-billion-dollar corporations that have incredible media operations. And so to then listen to a very small town podcast about, the small town businesses that are so good there and how people feel good about their communities, and it's not silly, it's authentic, it's real. That was really, it's been very interesting to me, and it seems like people are liking it, right? Because
No.
they want to do business with you.
Oh yeah.
So I think there's a lot of lessons here for people, gym owners, trainers, whether they have an actual brick and mortar or not, to learn here. What do you think might be, to give me two or three tips that you might say to me if I were in a small town in Tennessee somewhere and wanted to grow my business, publish books, do a podcast, what?
No.
Focus on over 50?
I
What's
think
the secret, Seth? What is it? Tell
is
me.
the focus to start. The more you just wait for something to happen, you're not gonna know what's gonna work for you by any means, right? For me, I wanted to find like almost like my good enough, right? My podcast equipment, it's this mic that's $40, my laptop, a software that costs 150 for
Yeah.
for the year,
Yeah.
right? The beauty about these books is once they're published, they're out there, right? I don't have to worry about is if there's going to be enough of these books ever printed because I'm not the one worrying about the printing,
Right. Right.
right? I think you just have to do something, see what works. If it doesn't work, adjust it. If it does work, figure out how you can make it easier for you so that way you don't have to like focus on the small tedial medial tasks.
Yeah.
For me, I've always worked Monday through Thursday. Fridays have always been like my marketing or doing something fun with my
Yeah.
kids' days. And for me, with my niche of people, my marketing and kids stuff is usually kind of they coincide. We right now is fall. We go to this place called Ramsire Farms. I have a couple books with me in the stroller. I my kids are very bubbly like me. They'll start talking to someone and ask if they're around here and national sales process, start figuring out if it makes sense for me to
Right.
give them the book. And if not, I add them on Facebook and they see all the fun things I'm doing. So,
Well, excellent. You've
oh,
inspired me to become more aggressive with marketing my book. I did great for the first month, and then the second month I had some travel come up and I got sick for 2 weeks and it just completely knocked me down. But I'm trying to get back on my feet again because I find that when I push it, I do get the response. So I
oh.
guess that's the main thing. So Seth, tell people where to go to learn more about you or to see what all the you're doing so much. Where's the best place to go?
You can add me on Facebook, just Seth Scrimo. Best way. You see all the fun things I'm doing. You can
Okay.
get connected with all the podcast stuff. It's on Spotify. You can go to my website, www.screamofitness.com. And if on Amazon, just type in Seth Scrimo. You'll see all the books, all the fun things. You'll see our soon to be bestseller, number
Yes,
one,
that's right.
on there. Yes, it'll be there.
Yes.
So
Okay.
but
Beautiful.
yeah, I mean, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. Jay knows that like at first I may put up some walls because I get some crazy things
Yeah.
sometimes, but that's only in good nature just to make sure that, I'm crazy, but I don't want to talk to too many crazy people.
Right. Right. Well, I will put all of that in the show notes so people can be in touch with you. And I just think it's really exciting that you have used these media opportunities, publishing your own
Mm.
books and launching your own podcasts to grow your primarily online fitness business. That's really,
Yes,
really, really smart. So congratulations to you and
thank you.
thank you for coming on and sharing all
Uh,
the secrets with us, Seth.
I think
Appreciate it.
also, if a closing note, I think a
Yeah,
big thing that most people miss out on is just because you have an online business doesn't mean you have to be primary online. I do so many in-person stuffs. I'm in my Orville Chamber of Commerce. I'm in the leadership course there. So I'm around all these movers and shakers in these, you know, places where I would want to work with
sure.
those managers or those CEOs or those business owners. So I think a big thing is find the people that you want to work with, right? And go there.
Yes. Yes. I'm always telling people you have to figure out where your customers are and go there because everyone wants to quote that movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come.
Mm,
It's like that's so ridiculous. No,
mm.
no, they won't come. They have other things on their mind. No one's
Uh,
thinking about you.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to get
Yep.
out there and grab them.
Yeah, your head shouldn't be so big that you can't walk out the door and go find people.
Exactly. All right, Seth. Well, listen, thanks very much. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon with
Yeah.
this book
The
coming out,
book. Yep.
Thrive.
Yep.
Okay, have a good day.
Cool. Yep. Hey. Bye.